please switch on your mic.
Good morning, CJ.
Are you well?
I'm well, thank you. And how are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
Thank you.
Are you still an attorney?
I am still an attorney, CJ.
And you have been for about 17 years?
It's 27 years.
Is it? You
Yes.
count the pupillage period or after pupillage?
It's after.
Okay,
I
okay.
was admitted in 1991.
Okay. Oh, my maths. Anyway, I take your word for it. My calculation is wrong. And you've been with a number of firms.
That's correct.
What does it mean to be a consultant in a firm of attorneys?
What it means is
What does one do as a consultant?
I am consulted on issues pertaining to the running of the firm.
Okay.
I am also asked to assist and give advice on property matters, which is what I had a keen interest in.
Okay.
But I'm also asked to give advice on other matters.
Okay. So you are not a director of the firm. You are not an employee of the firm. You just have a contractual arrangement with them, or what?
That's correct.
Yes, yes. And if you add up your acting stints in 2017, and 2018, for what period would you say, all in all, you've acted?
It's 87 weeks, but yeah.
87 weeks.
That's correct.
And I noticed that you've attended SAJ's aspirant judges programs,
That's correct.
even the advanced.
Yes, both of them.
Were they of any good?
Yes, they were very helpful.
How did you manage to attend? Because many practitioners are not able to attend because while here there is no income, and I understand that others would only be able to attend if there was some kind of a stipend made available to them by the judiciary or the state. How did you manage? How did you get it right?
In respect of the basic aspirant course, I was still a practicing attorney, and my firm allowed me time off, and I think that was a week that we were off at that time.
Yes.
In respect of the second one, it was in early January that I attended, and we were not back at work at that time.
Okay, okay. And were there other practitioners attending this program or not?
Yes, there were other practitioners, there were attorneys, and there were several counsels as well.
Okay. Now, did you have a serious challenge with reserved judgments or not?
CJ, I think in the last time I was here, there were a couple of judgments which had taken longer than the 3 months which is recommended.
Yes.
But since then, there have been none which have taken longer than the 3 months.
You've never had a judgment reserved for 12 months or something?
No, not at all.
Yes. Okay. JP?
Thank you, CJ. Ms. Mokose, good morning.
Good morning, JP.
Just before I go into the spreadsheet, in fact, let me start there. You've said 87 weeks, which is well over a year. It's nearly 2 years.
It's nearly 2 years.
Right. Now, I see if I compare to the other candidates, you've done 23 full weeks in appeals only, and you've done a lot of criminal appeal work there.
That's correct.
Right. Would you say that compensates for you not having sat as a criminal trial judge?
I believe that actually does, because of the, not only are you sitting in there for a week, but you've got on each day that you are sitting, maybe 4 matters that you have to work on and consider.
Right. I see you've also spent 5 weeks in the agent court.
That's correct.
How did you manage that? Because my experience is that attorneys generally find it difficult to act in the agent court.
I didn't find it difficult. I think with the collegiality of my seniors, they were able, in the first time that I had to sit in this court, to hold my hand and talk me through it. And I think I got some very useful tips from the senior judges in that respect.
Right. And I also see you've spent a whopping 17 weeks in the unopposed motion court and 12 weeks in the opposed motion court. Those are difficult courts, am I not?
Those are very difficult courts. The opposed motion courts have a lot of matters. On a good day, you will have 50. On a bad day, you can go right up to 70. But you work at it, you work consistently through the matters, and well, I did get through them. The opposed motion, there are less matters, but there's much more work to be done in respect of the opposed matters. More preparation before you get to court, and I think you get a 2-week lead before we go into court on the opposed matters.
You also did 2 special civil trials and 2 special motions.
That's correct.
Matters, yeah.
That's correct.
Now, the Chief Justice asked you about reserve judgments, and you say you've now complied with the norm of not taking longer than 3 months in handing down your judgments.
That's correct.
Could I just request you to go back to when you were interviewed last year? There was the question of a judgment that was alleged to have been reserved by you for longer than 7 or 8 months, if I'm not mistaken. Do you remember that matter?
I do remember the matter.
Can you just clarify what happened there?
Okay.
Did the judgment take 8 months or 9 months?
No, that is not correct. As I had explained, what had happened is that the judgment was handed down, I think it was the 19th of June, if my mind serves me correctly. On the day, I gave an extempore judgment, which is a judgment which I read into the record. I do have a copy of the digital recording of the judgment, and they had access to the digital recording. In fact, before a judgment is handed down, we do ensure that the parties are informed that a reserve judgment will be handed down at a particular time on a particular day, and this is what was done. I think what the commissioner was querying was that he had a copy of a judgment which I had subsequently signed, and the copy was a revised copy, and in 2 places on the front cover of the judgment and on the last page it is written that it was revised, and that is the copy which was signed on the 4th of September 2017.
Now, the difference between an extempore judgment is that the extempore date is the date of the effective date of handing down the judgment.
That is correct. The effective date of handing down the judgment is the date that the extempore judgment has been handed down.
Right, and that was far less than the 8 months.
That's correct.
Right. And the revised is because people may want to go on appeal and whatever, so they give you the digital copy to correct and you revise, and then you sign and you hand it back.
That's correct. I was given a digital copy to revise. I found it easier to hand them a copy of the judgment which I had typed and printed, and rather than go through the digital copy. And that is the copy which was handed to the clients at the end of the day.
Okay. Let me just move on to your experience. You say in your questionnaire that you're a property law specialist. You were the first female to be admitted as a conveyancer, black female, if I'm not mistaken.
That's correct, black female.
And you've held positions of leadership in that special area in the Law Society.
That's correct, JP.
Right. Chief Justice, I've got no further questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, JP. MEC Lesufi.
Thank you so much, Chief Justice. I think from the last engagement, I'm fine. Safe to say maybe if Ms. Mokose will feel comfortable just to explain and take this commission in confidence about your South African citizenship.
Thank you, Commissioner. I have been a permanent resident in South Africa since 1990. I hold a British citizenship by virtue of my birth. I grew up in Lesotho. I applied for my citizenship, and in November, I think it was the 22nd of November, I was then asked by the Department of Home Affairs to attend an induction, which induction I did in fact attend. We were supposed to have been sworn in the following week, but we were told at the induction that there is a little bit of a problem in that the minister is not available. So for that reason, we have been waiting for the citizenship to be conferred on us. But for all intents and purposes, everything has been complied with regard to the citizenship.
Commissioner Msomi?
Thank you, Chief Justice. Good morning, Ms. Mokose.
Good morning, Commissioner.
Yeah, thank you so much. We invite, obviously, various law bodies to comment on the candidates when they apply. And my colleagues from the General Counsel of the Bar are here, and they've raised a concern, or rather they raise a criticism in their comments, and that is captured in paragraph 12 of their comments. And they say this: reports from practitioners who have appeared before the candidate indicated that the candidate lacks the ability to properly manage court proceedings, suggesting a lack of adequate familiarity with court procedure and process. And they go on to say, a report from a senior practitioner indicated that the candidate had not adequately prepared for the matter prior to it being heard. What is your comment to that observation by my colleagues who are sitting on my right?
Thank you, Commissioner. It's a very difficult comment to comment to. I don't have an indication as to whether I was seated in Johannesburg or in Pretoria. We have different practice manuals in the different divisions of the Gauteng High Court. It is possible that the person who made that comment may have been one who's practicing or is mostly appearing in one or the other of the divisions. I also don't have an indication as to whether it was a trial I could have been running, whether it was opposed motion, or whether it was even unopposed motion, or any of the other areas that we work in. So it's a very difficult comment to. In respect of the second one, that I was not adequately prepared. Likewise, it is very difficult. I have not been approached by the JP, whom I know meets frequently with in a forum to discuss matters of mutual interest. And I would have expected that maybe if things were that bad, that the JP be notified that the candidate that you have actually put here is not capable. And the one thing I can say is I will always prepare for my matters that I am going to be attending to in court.
Thank you. The second question then from me, and it is the last question, relates to whether in any of the matters that you have presided upon, have you had an opportunity to develop our common law? And are you able to refer us to an example where you gave a groundbreaking judgment which changed our common law? Thank you.
I don't know about a groundbreaking judgment, but I think I have contributed to the development of our common law. In the pack, which was part of my application, there is a matter there, I think it's Nedbank and Diedrichs, I think it is, in which there was a very difficult matter in respect of the NCA. I think that particular matter will actually, is an indication of my contribution that I have made thus far.
Minister?
Thank you, and good morning, Ms.
Good
Mokose.
morning, Minister.
Yes. Just in relation to, as a follow-up to just checking on your experience, you were an attorney. You are an attorney.
That's correct, Minister.
And have you practiced in the High Court as an attorney, or at what point prior to your acting stint have you, if at all, been exposed to work in the High Court?
Thank you, Minister. I have been exposed to work in the High Court. I have not personally appeared because of the specialized nature of the work that I would do. I would work more as a consultant in respect of litigation matters. So it is in that respect. But before
And
then,
just in relation to that, would that also apply in the lower courts, that basically you were not, what
More
shall we
of-
call it, a trial attorney? You were basically
more often than
more
not,
legal administration.
okay. More often than not, the matters were matters which were to be brought before the High Court. So in all the matters that I did do so, it was High Court matters.
Yes.
And prior to that, when I was doing my articles and I was a junior attorney very early in practice, I did not appear in in any of the courts by virtue of the fact that we needed to have a working knowledge of Afrikaans. And in fact, we had to have a university course. And for that reason, I did not have right of appearance. I would, however, prepare all documents for my seniors or those who were able to appear in court to do just that.
Now, didn't find it a quantum leap moving from an attorney's practice which was largely did not involve court appearance to suddenly find yourself having to act on the bench and actually confront a trial situation and that kind of environment? How did you find that experience? Couldn't that have explained some of the criticism that's been leveled against you in relation to your ability to fully apprehend proceedings at that level?
Thank you, Minister. I have been acting, excuse me, I have been acting since 2016, term
Yes.
1, in the High Court. I did, the problem with the criticism is that there is no indication as to when this happened. I have gone back and looked at the criticisms the comments which were given in respect of the 2017 application, and there were none of those. So it's very, very difficult for me to say that maybe at what stage that these criticisms could have crept in. And in respect of whether I found it difficult, yes, it was a very different environment from the environment that I was in. But with the help and the support of my colleagues, the senior judges, I have, I think, overcome the challenges I may have had at the beginning.
Thank you, Chief Justice.
Thank you, Minister. Commissioner Nkosi Thomas.
Thank you, Chief Justice. Good morning, Ms. Mokose.
Good morning, Commissioner.
You appeared before us previously, and you were asked a question about the disciplinary proceedings in which you were found guilty by the Law Society and were sanctioned to the tune of a fine of 10,000 rand. Do you remember that?
It was a suspended sentence.
Was it suspended?
It was suspended.
Very well. But my question to you, and that happened when? Did just refresh my memory, when did that happen? When did that?
I think 2003 and 4 and 5, I think.
That's right. Now, the question is, have you ever been found guilty of a similar misdemeanor subsequently?
None at all.
And you've learned from the errors of your ways, would you say?
I definitely did learn from the errors.
Thank you. Thanks, Chief Justice.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Malema.
Thank you very much, CG. Back to the MEC's question, I just want to understand, are you a naturalized citizen?
Ndati Malema, I'm waiting to be naturalized.
So you're not a naturalized citizen?
I am not a naturalized
Thank you.
citizen.
Commissioner Singh.
Thank you, Chief Justice. Good morning, Ms. Mokose.
Good morning,
Good morning.
Commissioner.
I just want to refer to the questionnaire 9.5 on reserved judgments, where you state there are 3 matters.
I had 4 matters at the time that I wrote them.
Yes, and I note that you last acted between 25th and 29th in Johannesburg and 29th and 13th July in Pretoria. Are these judgments ready to be handed down if you're given the opportunity?
They have in fact been handed down, and I did in fact act in the 3rd term up until the 21st of September.
So they've all been handed down.
They've all been handed down, Commissioner.
Thank you, Chief Justice.
Thank you, Commissioner Singh. Commissioner Mpofu.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioner Mpofu.
Yes. Okay. I've also known you for many years. You were my senior at WITS.
That's correct, Commissioner.
Yes. Now, I'd like to ask you two things very briefly. One is, given the specialized and non-litigation nature of your practice, and as you've said, you haven't appeared in the High Court for the reasons you have explained. What special efforts have you had to take during your acting stints to enhance your eligibility for elevation to the bench?
Commissioner, I'd like to say that I have been on 3 courses to enable me to act. The first course is the one which was, which I attended, which was being held by the Law Society of the Northern Provinces. And then I attended the SARJ Basic Aspirant Judges course. And then I attended the Advanced Aspirant Judges course. Whilst I have been acting in the High Court, both at Pretoria and at Johannesburg, I have had seniors that I have been able, where I think that I need to consult or get an idea about a procedural matter, I would most definitely do so. But it has been very few and far between cases.
Thank you. The second issue is to do with the empowerment of women or fighting gender discrimination. Now, you know, your appointment should contribute something to that, but it doesn't follow automatically by virtue of you being a female that you will necessarily contribute to the transformation in that important area. And one of the ways in which we can predict whether you will contribute is by your past record. As an attorney of 27 years standing, and having worked mainly in the so-called large white law firms, have you in your career ever made any special effort to brief black female advocates or even empower other female junior candidate attorneys and the like within those firms and those environments?
Commissioner, I have. I was also in my own practice for 14 years. I made it a point of ensuring that I employed or gave the opportunity to black females, knowing the struggle that I had gone through as a black female. In my position as a director at Bowman Gilfillan, the same was true. All my secretaries were black females. The other thing that I did do is I empowered, there were 3 black candidate attorneys whom I mentored and trained for them to pass the conveyancing and notarial practice exams. I continue to do so. I have also briefed black female counsel in respect mainly of my pro bono work that I do in refugee, that I have been doing in refugee law.
Thank you. Just in closing, I want to say that despite what Commissioner Msomi read out to you about the GCB's comments, it also says that we are of the view that you have great potential for a long and successful career as a judicial officer and will be of great service to the bench, just to balance it out. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Justice Navza.
Hi, Ms. Mokose. I have a sense of deja vu listening to you because I spent about 5 years in the Joburg High Court. Really have 2 questions for you. It's an intimidating court in terms of volume. I think your JP accepts that. You had a limited experience. I think all of the people at my vintage would have had a limited experience. When you get there, it becomes a commercial court. And as the minister indicated, it's a quantum leap. So there's a great deal to learn and deal with. Do you accept, given your limited background, and may deal a bit with the criticisms about your lack of practical experience, that you have to hit the ground running? You get thrown into the deep end, and it's an ongoing, incredibly taxing exercise, but you've got to do it. And if you want to come out on top, you've got to continue developing. That's the first question. Second question is just a follow-up on what Commissioner Malema put to you, and it's really in terms of the qualifications and who we can and can't appoint. You said for all intents and purposes, the citizenship process has terminated or has reached its conclusion. Have you been informed of that? Do you have something in confirmation of that? So when we make the decision, it's presented to us. Is there any finality on that? Is there any official documentation of finality on that? Thank you, Chief Justice.
Sorry, let me answer the second one first. The issue of the citizenship, I have been following it up since November last year. And as I explained, what normally happens, you go to an induction, and a week later, you go for the swearing in. And the position is that the minister was not available to swear us in at that point. In my pack of documents, there is a letter confirming that I have attended that. I have, on Wednesday this week, managed to get hold of the chief director in the citizenship department, who just confirmed telephonically that they decided to waive the process of swearing in because of the fact that it took such a long time. So all that I would need to do is attend on his office to get my certificate. So there's nothing more for me to do because of the fact that it took such a long time because of the change in the members of the executive.
The second one,
The second one,
ground running.
can I ask Commissioner just to repeat that one again?
Sorry. I just go back to my own experience, and I think your JP, who used to be my clerk once upon a time, will tell you the same. That you've got to, particularly if you have limited experience, given the volume of that you're faced with, given the number of matters you're expected to deal with, and I think people like Advocate Mpofu will agree with that, you really have to come to grips with it. It's a quick learning, ongoing, intense exercise. And I really wanted to know, do you accept that that is so, and are you committed to that ongoing, intense exercise to put yourself on top of it all?
Thank you, Commissioner. I think, first of all, my experience is limited in the sense that I did not appear in court on behalf of clients. But at the end of the day, as a conveyancer, you first have to be an attorney. You have to know the law and practice the law. And in my conveyancing work, we did just that. We had to have vast experience of the law. In respect of the loads, the amount of work, I agree, Commissioner. The amount of work that is expected of us is quite a lot. I think I have worked very hard, and it can be seen in my judgments, and not only in the number of judgments, but in the quality of judgments, that I have acquitted myself, and I will continue to strive to acquit myself better.
For your follow-up question, Minister.
Just thank you, and thanks for indulging me, CJ. Just on the citizenship thing, there's something I want to clear in my head. You qualified adverts.
That's correct.
For your LLB in 1988, and you've since practiced in South Africa.
That's correct.
But I seem to understand you to be saying you only applied for citizenship of the Republic only in 2017. Is that, am I missing something?
In 2016.
Well, okay, 2016.
That's
let's
correct.
take it.
That's correct.
What could have been the reason for waiting between 1988? I can understand when you're still a student, that maybe it wasn't opportune or whatever, but since 1988, I'm not sure how many years we're talking about there, is there a particular reason why you only waited until 2016 to apply for citizenship, which happens to be the time when you started acting as a judge in South Africa in particular? Has it got to do with it because of your aspiration of joining the bench, or what prompted you suddenly after all these years?
Commissioner, thank you for that question. As I mentioned briefly, I am a Lesotho citizen, but I do not have it there because Lesotho did not allow dual citizenship. I kept my Lesotho citizenship until I realized I cannot keep it anymore, and reverted to the citizenship of my birth, which allows dual citizenship. I had been trying to apply before, and the red tape is what prevented me. But I then thought, I have been in this country for this long. I am not...
Sorry, you have been trying to apply before for South African citizenship?
Yes.
Since when, specifically?
I think it was about 2009, I think it was, that I went to the department, but there was a lot of red tape, and one of the things
But it was only
Can I-
until then that you contemplated South African citizenship.
That's right.
I
And
think that
as I've explained, Lesotho did not allow for dual citizenship. So I took up my British citizenship in 2015 when I realized that I'm going to have to make a concerted effort to sort out my citizenship. I have been living in South Africa. My mother is South African, and half of my family is here. So my work life has been in South Africa. So it's for that reason I thought it's only right that I should sort out my citizenship issues.
Thank you, Chief Justice.
Half of your family is here. What connection do you still have with Britain?
My mother's family, all my mother's family are South African, and I see them all the time.
Yeah, what about Britain now? What connection
Britain
do
is
you
just
still
a-
have with Britain for you to want to retain its citizenship?
CJ, it's really a matter of travel. When you have to travel, which just makes it a little bit easier than what it was in Lesotho.
Is that why you are retaining your British citizenship?
But South Africa allows us to retain dual citizenship.
No, I know. There's a judge in Pretoria who has dual citizenship, British and South African. I'm not attacking you. I just want to know. Is it for the purpose of traveling, to smoothen your travel?
That's correct.
Okay. Commissioner Mpofu?
Thank you. Just to follow up on this citizenship thing, yeah. For the record, if you want to be a citizen of Lesotho, I think that's great. Not
It has actually been, a bill has been passed in Parliament about 3 weeks ago that Lesotho now allows dual citizenship.
Yes. Okay. But in any event, the Section 174(1) of the Constitution says any appropriately qualified woman or man who is a fit and proper person may be appointed as a judicial officer. And then it says any person to be appointed to the Constitutional Court must also be a South African citizen. Now, in the light of that, would there be any impediment to your appointment right now while you are waiting for your South African citizenship?
There's no impediment for my appointment at the moment.
Thank you.
There would be an impediment if you wanted to be a constitutional court judge. Yes.
That's correct, CJ.
Commissioner Norman?
Thank you, Chief Justice. Good morning,
Good
Ms.
morning,
Mokose.
Commissioner.
I just want to go back to what Commissioner Msomi had put to you as to what the comments of the GCB, but then take you back to their comments when you applied last year in October. When in the same paragraph, paragraph 12, when they commented about you last year, they said that paragraph deals with the candidate's ability to conduct court proceedings. And they said members have commented that the candidate is able to conduct court proceedings. I just want to place that on record. And secondly, take you to the comments from the National Forum of Advocates. That has been penned by the Secretary Bar Council of the National Forum of Advocates, JJS Prinsloo SC. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but he supports all the candidates. But he says in the last paragraph, the fortunate situation is that the nomination documents of all the candidates indicate that they have the qualities and special ability referred to above. We therefore have the privilege to recommend the appointment of all and any 5 of the nominees in this division. So just taking that forward, have you ever, since 2016 right up until today, ever received any letter, any email from any advocate, from any bar saying that, Judge, we are not happy with your performance, you have disappointed us, you have not read papers, or anything of the sort?
Not at all, Commissioner.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Justice.
Thank you so much, ma'am. You're excused.
Thank you. Thank you to the councils.